On this episode, Arianna Huffington stops by.
You ask questions, and I answer them. This is the Ask Garyvee Show.
Hey everybody, this is Garyvee, Nerdchuck, and this is episode 213 of the Ask Garyvee Show. And there are a lot of people excited about this episode. A lot of chatter on the Slack channel for you, my dear. Please tell the Vayner Nation, for the 4 people that are watching this that don't know who you are, please tell them who you are.
Hi Vayner Nation, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Arianna Huffington. As you can hear from my accent, I was not born in this country. I'm an immigrant, a naturalized immigrant, whatever that may mean. Bottom line, less chance to be deported if there is a Trump presidency, although more chance to be deported just because of the stances I have taken against him. I was born in Greece. I have 2 daughters. I have written 15 books, and I have...
Excuse me, did you just say 15? Jeez, I was proud of my 4. That's a real number. I got a lot of work.
Plenty of time to catch up.
I'm gonna go hustle. See ya.
And together with Kenny Lair, who's a good
Yes.
friend of Gary's,
Yes.
I launched the Huffington Post in 2005.
That
So
little
we are
thing.
now 11 years old.
Unbelievable, huh? What a run that was.
Amazing.
You know what? Before we get into the questions, I'm curious for my own self. When you guys launched that, did it feel like yes? Like, did you know? Did you not know? Did it get much bigger than you thought? Is it still not as big as you thought? Like, what was your real point of view?
Well, we were very excited about taking the conversation that was going on among really interesting people, some
Yes.
known, some not known, and
Yes.
moving it online. Believe it or not, 2005, bloggers were still dismissed as people who couldn't get a job, writing in their parents' basement.
Yes.
And we changed the paradigm because,
did.
like, on our first day, we had Larry David and Ellen DeGeneres and Walter Cronkite and Arthur Schlesinger, people who could have written an op-ed in the New York Times.
That's right.
But chose to write on HuffPost and discovered how much easier it was to actually write something online, see it immediately posted, not having to deal with editors and editing. And it just began to change the perception around blogging. And at the same time, that we very proudly were a platform
Yes.
that has grown, of course, exponentially, we wanted to be a journalistic enterprise that ended up winning a Pulitzer. We now have over 800 journalists, reporters, editors in 15 countries, soon 16. So, whenever you start something, I don't know if you ever really know where it's going to go, because the fun of it is that
Yeah.
you invent it as you go along.
But you have intuitions.
Yeah, you have intuitions. You trust that this is, for me, it's all about, are you tapping into something in the zeitgeist?
Yeah, I think that's right.
If you tap into something, you have the wind on your back, and it's much easier.
This sleep platform, the Sleep Revolution, the book that came out, was that typing into the zeitgeist? Was that a passion? Like, where did this come from?
So, well, it definitely is tapping into the zeitgeist, but it came from a terrible wake-up call when I collapsed from sleep deprivation and burnout and hit my head on the way down on my desk, broke my cheekbone, and that was the beginning of but literally coming to in a pool of blood and having to ask myself, is this really what success looks like?
Right.
And realizing that not just I, but millions of people have bought into this collective.
How much were you sleeping at that point?
I was sleeping like 4 to 5 hours. I was, yes, building the Huffington Post. It was 2 years old, and I had 2 teenage daughters. And
So this was in 2007.
2007, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the precipitating circumstance of my collapse was having been around colleges with my daughter for her to decide what college she wanted to go to.
Yes.
And what happened is that we're basically together during the day, no Blackberries, that was the ground rule. And then at night she would go to sleep, I would start working. Mm-hmm. And I feel there's been so much misinformation about sleep. You know, going back to the Industrial Revolution, when we started thinking human beings can be treated like machines to minimize downtime.
I think I'm a machine.
You are a machine.
But, and people know I work a lot. And I say this a lot, I'm a huge believer in sleep. Like, I always talk about hustling 18 hours a day and, you know, and throwing those kind of crazy numbers out. But boy, I'm like all in on sleep. Like, it's just math. In the same way, like, I started taking care of my health a couple years ago, like, you need to sleep. Right. Like, I don't think anybody's won the game of, like, for example, most people think, I think I'm really curious. I think a lot of people, when they heard 4 to 5 from you, a lot of them are like, oh, that's what Gary sleeps. I'm rarely 5, mainly 6, sometimes 7. It's when I travel I can get caught, but I'm sleeping on, like, I'm a much bigger fan of sleep, I think, than people realize.
And you know, now it's athletes. A lot of athletes are talking about how when they get enough sleep, it makes them better on the court or in the field. Like, I have a whole section here on Andre Iguodala and how when he went to 8 hours sleep, his stats dramatically improved. LeBron James, Roger Federer, when he plays Wimbledon, he rents 2 houses. One for his wife and young children, and one for himself, because he says nothing can disturb my sleep the night before game day. So people may wonder, how much sleep do they need? So here's the thing. You may have a genetic mutation. If you have a genetic mutation, you can get away with 4 to 6 hours. Frankly, the rest of us, the vast majority of us, need 7 to 9 hours.
Wow.
You know, you may be 7, you may be 9, you may be...
Well, Stefan's 10.
He looks fabulous, so maybe that's what it takes.
All right, India, let's get, look, I apologize. Let's get into some questions and we'll keep jamming. Oh, a video. I love it. They're all video?
Except one.
Except one, okay, great.
Hey, Arianna and Garyvee. Arianna, it was so good to meet you last week. We had our sold-out premiere of Dreamgirl last night to 600 people at the Paris Theater. Got home at 4 o'clock, woke up at 8, now headed to brunch with my parents and then to Bloomberg for an interview. So my question for you is, when it's this kind of crunch time for an entrepreneur and you're in launch phase and you have so much to do and you're on the go, how do you recommend we rest during this really intense couple of weeks and sometimes months when we can't get that full 8 hours and when we're just go? Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, if something happens and you are shipping a product or about to get something done,
Moments in time.
Moments in time.
Yes.
This is a moment in time and you didn't get your full night's sleep. Try and get 20 minutes of a nap as soon as you can during the next day. It will make you more productive the rest of the time. It resets your whole system.
I apologize. Is that a general thing? Because for me, I'll tell you, boy, if I took a 20, I'm a momentum guy. I was thinking about the mutation thing. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm a mutation.
You might be. You can check yourself.
I can?
Yeah, you can have a test. There's a genetic test.
I'm going to do that. And the reason I said that is, boy, I'm so momentum that if I was to take, and I know, and I've heard about the naps and like pods in offices, and I'm fascinated by this. I'm like, ooh, it's even tough for me to have a meal in the middle of the day, because for me to get started, I can start, but to take a 20-minute nap, it's so different. I rarely take naps. I have a lot of natural energy. I get all that. Is that back to your thing that there's mutations, but for most people that will work? Like, can most people take naps?
Absolutely. I mean, look at Winston Churchill. I mean, we're talking about regular naps in the middle of fighting the Second World War.
Right.
In a bunker. Right. He had a way to take a nap.
Yes.
Charlie Rose, who has his morning show, his regular interview show, he takes 3 naps a day.
For how long? Do you know?
Just 20 minutes each. So when
have you started doing the nap thing?
I don't do naps because I get enough sleep.
Too?
No. I now get 8 hours, 95% of the time.
Is that right? What about with the travel? Like, you're going to Dallas tomorrow.
Okay,
right?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I can make sure that you get enough sleep even when you travel. You need a transition to sleep. That's the key. Okay, this is the most important thing I'm going to say, other than the fact that the science is in on sleep, right? We're not debating some.
Right, this is not subjective.
This is not subjective. This is not some Greek immigrant woman's
Crazy idea.
Crazy idea.
You're not from America. Get out of here with this crap.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you know, so-
I was born in Belarus.
Belarus,
so I have
okay.
my own version.
I know, but
Crazy
you have no
Belarus.
accent, which makes me
No.
feel bad. You
Well, I
know.
came when I was 3.
It makes me feel I'm tone deaf, which maybe I am.
So go ahead.
But anyway, beyond the 50 pages of scientific endnotes,
Yes.
the most important thing I'm going to say is that we need a transition to sleep. If anybody who is watching has children, you know that you don't just drop your baby and your young child to bed. You give it a bath. You put it in its PJs. You sing it a lullaby.
Do you think the modern
story.
parents are doing way too much of that transition?
I think the
do.
modern
Some of these
men-
things have become 4 hours long.
Well, 4 hours is a little excessive. You know, you sound like Chelsea Handler. Modern men and women
Yes.
have dropped the transition. The transition is you are texting, emailing, you put your phone by your bed, you turn off the light. And then what happens is that you may be exhausted enough to go to sleep, but your
this.
brain has not been given an opportunity to wind down. So it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night with all this inane chatter that is completely and utterly unproductive.
Is it possible that I'm a mutant because I can literally, even though I'm 1 second ago complete an insanity in my brain, that if I turn on my sound machine, will go to sleep immediately? Have I trained my body? to
And
use
you
my
go
sound
immediately
machine?
to sleep and you
Yes.
don't wake up.
That's right. Like
And
a
you-
rock. You could literally come into my house, punch me in the face, and I will not wake up.
That means you're way too exhausted.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
It would make a lot of sense.
If literally,
Yes.
it means you remind me of me before I collapse.
I don't want to wake up in a pool of blood.
Let me tell you what would happen to me. I
Yes.
would literally, my friends would joke that they would go to a movie house with me.
Right.
Before the movie started, I would be asleep. They would put me in a car, I would be asleep. Like I was so sleep deprived
Yes.
that the minute I was in any darkened place or I didn't have to function,
Yes.
I would fall asleep.
Yes. I don't do that. I've actually never fallen asleep.
But
with
a
anyone.
mutant, okay, can
No,
we
I'm
all
not sure.
agree?
I'm going to test myself. And honestly, by the way, I'm getting a lot more 7 and 6, 7 and 8 than anybody would imagine. And on weekends, I'll go 11. I think sleep is the aim.
Now we're getting the truth,
Yeah.
okay?
No,
So
I-
you actually give yourself a lot of recovery.
What I'm doing is Monday through Friday, no question, that game can be 6 and 7. And when I play basketball, it could be even a little earlier because we have a 6 a.m. tip-off, so I have to get up at 5:30. But I almost consistently will try to make up time Friday night to Saturday, Saturday night to Sunday, Sunday. Like, I just don't know. Like, it's just, I'm a big believer. That's all.
Yeah.
But now, I'm not worried about how much sleep they get. I'm worried about what they do while they're awake.
Okay, but the two things are connected because if you wake up fully recharged, it means you wake up ready to take on the world.
Yes.
You know that feeling?
Yes.
You wake up and you say, come on, bring it on. It doesn't matter how many obstacles, challenges, setbacks.
I prefer those things.
Okay, perfect. Well,
Yeah.
Travis is a friend of yours.
Yes.
I just joined the board of Uber.
Yes.
Travis has a little bit of that. It's
Yes.
like he may be dealing with 30 crises at
Yes.
the same time.
He eats it for lunch.
But what happens, and here's the key, you just put something on your Facebook yesterday that I
Yes.
love, which is it's ultimately just business.
That's it.
It's not life and death.
That's right.
The people who have a hard time are the people who basically make it too important.
That's right.
Perspective is everything. And that's really what Stoic philosophers believe. Do you know who is my greatest hero other than you, Gary?
Yes.
I'll pick a dead person. Is Marcus Aurelius. I'll tell you why. He was the emperor of Rome.
Yes.
A pretty big job, you
Yes,
agree?
the
Like
job.
right in the arena, dealing with invasions, plagues, everything. And he was also a Stoic philosopher. And literally, nothing ever got to him. He wrote a book about it called Meditations that I have by my bed. And every time I'm beginning to get anxious about something or worried, I look at that book. And the fact is that he considered life as though everything that happened was a hidden blessing.
I agree with that.
It's like, I don't know why, I don't know how. But another favorite of mine, Rumi, the Persian poet, he said, live life as though everything is rigged in your favor.
I think optimism is the ultimate drug.
And we don't know. We don't really know enough about what's happening in life. So whatever happens,
Agreed.
I mean, for me, some of my biggest heartbreaks led to my biggest moments of joy and happiness and success.
India? Love that, Arianna. Love that. I believe in that stuff so much.
This is Dr. Durgam.
Doctor.
Hi, Arianna. Hi, Gary. I'm coming to you from my dental office in North Bergen, New Jersey. And my question is in regards to sleep. how do you develop rituals for your sleep and bedtime when your life is unpredictable as a business person and a parent, and you have a lot of obligations and a lot of people contacting you at all hours of the day? Thank you.
Okay, well, first of all, you know what they tell you on airplanes? Put your own oxygen mask first.
Yes.
That is key. You know, they don't say that because they're nice. They say that because you won't be much use to anybody else if you're not breathing. So you're not going to be much use to your children, your patients, anybody, if you let yourself burn out. So nobody should be able to reach you at all hours unless you have what I have, which is a dumb phone that has no data for my daughters and for our overnight news editor if there is a crisis. But my regular phone that a lot of people have, that has all my life and my work on, when I'm asleep, it is asleep and it is outside my bedroom.
Same thing for me. I have it by my bed, but it is completely on silent. It never wakes me up. I never know. I'm out. Like, I totally agree with that. And I think it's binary. Like, to answer your question, doctor, either you are doing this or you're not. There's no half pregnant in these strategies. You know, so for me with health, 2 years ago, I went all in. And so now I found the hour that I didn't think existed. And excuse me, it's 2 hours because you gotta get ready, shower after. Like, it's just binary. Like, if you want to, if you believe it, if you read this book, if you believe this thesis, if you Google, if you watch her interviews, if you believe in this, if this has been bubbling up. Now, if you have a job where you have to get paged and come in, firefighter, doctor, like that's just real.
But it doesn't happen every night.
No, it doesn't.
You know, even if you're a doctor.
How many times, you know, I wanted to ask you, how many times has the news editor,
Never.
it hasn't happened yet?
No.
No
hasn't
major
happened.
thing has happened yet.
That
while you were
woke me
sleeping.
up, and touch wood, I haven't heard from my daughters either. It's just a security blanket.
Yes.
It means you
Makes you
know,
feel better.
it makes you feel better. but the point is that it is absolutely critical to realize that we've been living under a collective delusion. I have to say that. You know, we are now where we were in the 60s regarding smoking. The science was in, but people were still glamorizing smoking. And there were doctors. I saw an ad the other day from the 60s of a doctor in a white coat saying, I smoke menthols because they refresh my throat.
Yeah, I
So
get it.
really, that's where we are with sleep deprivation.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, over the last year and a half, probably not often enough, and probably why I had so much passion to do this with you, so I have something to point to, I've sprinkled in a lot more of hustle, but that means what you're doing when you're awake, not don't sleep. Don't watch 4 hours of House of Cards if you want to build a business, right? Don't play video games for 6 hours, but get your sleep in. And this, I've been thinking about more evergreen pieces of content that I can point to when people are like, Gary, you don't sleep. I'm like, no, watch this episode with Arianna. Like, so that had a lot to do. That was
Yes,
exciting
I love
for
that
me.
because people are looking to you.
And by the way, I sell hard work.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that it's clarified as in, I'm more worried about playing Candy Crush for an hour when you want to build a big business versus taking that away from your sleep.
Absolutely. You know, hard work is not the problem. I'm not talking about slowing down. Just look at what I'm getting done.
Right.
I'm talking about being your most efficient, best self when you show up for work.
How much is that young man sleeping?
Tell him.
I sleep.
So
8
Dan is
hours
my
a night,
fabulous chief of
almost
staff.
Every single night.
8 hours.
8 hours. And we work hard. You know, we get it done. We hustle like crazy.
Yeah.
But when I'm out, I'm out.
And before, how long have you guys been together?
About a year and a half.
And so before that?
Before that, I honestly thought that the hustle meant
Yes.
giving up wellness and sleep.
Right, and so
I was
what were you
convinced
doing?
that because
Yeah,
I had drunk
yeah.
that Kool-Aid.
And so-
It's a collective delusion.
And
That's all
so,
it is.
what were you spending sleeping?
Oh, maybe 5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because I wanted to be, I wanted to brag about it. I wanted
Yeah.
to say, hey folks,
Yeah.
I don't sleep and therefore
Yeah.
I am working my heart.
Yeah, it's funny. Snapchat has been interesting. Like to me, I guess not last night, but like, man, when I don't get, 6 to me is the number I'm really like, if I'm under 6, I'm very concerned. And usually I'm under 6, and you guys know this if you're following me on Snapchat, is when I travel, but then I sleep on the flight, you know, to make sure I close that gap.
Right, and then, you know, when you check into a hotel, especially after a flight, I highly recommend a hot bath, a hot shower. There's something wonderful about water, like washing away
Big
the day.
fan, big fan.
And if you get into
You know,
bed,
right? Remember those 10 seconds you were an assistant?
Oh, yeah.
When I was like shower in before I go, I'm a big fan.
I was like Like, we need to get him a shower. And
Yeah.
they're like, no,
I buy hotel rooms from the night before because there's no early check-in.
Yes,
just to take a shower.
absolutely essential. There's no better investment than investment in yourself. Don't buy a bag. Buy a hotel room. How are you going to show up the next morning? That's the key.
India?
One more?
One more?
I think we have our first anonymous question ever. Someone didn't want to have their name on it.
This is the first. This is the first.
I think it's first.
It's a very big moment.
Anonymous wants to know, how do you deal with bullying in the workplace or in life?
Bullying in the workplace, I mean, if you're an adult, this should be absolutely not allowed. I mean, leave. Go to HR.
Period.
You know, just create a stink. You know, you're not 5, right? If you have a job, you are responsible for what's happening in your environment and for what you allow. And one of my sayings is you allow, promote, or create everything that happens to you. So if you put up with bullying, that's just completely unacceptable. And thank you for asking the question. I hope you just take action immediately. I'm
in the same energy, and I'll say this: the fear of whatever you're going to miss out on not being at that job, whether it's the pay scale, you love doing the work, whatever that fear is of what you're leaving, because leave is the answer. I mean, you can go to HR. I'm cynical to it. I mean, I think we have an incredible. That's why we have a chief heart officer. Like, I'm passionate about this, but I'm realistic enough to know that a lot of corporations, HR is underwhelming. So yes, clearly, but I'm gonna make that assumption that you've gone down that route. If not, that would make sense to go down that route. But number 2, you need to understand that whatever you think you're leaving, that fear, there are 7, 12, 15 other versions out there. Your psyche's not allowing you to get there, but it's just true. And if you had enough courage and want the need to email us to have this question asked, you're already on third base. There's a lot of people that are still sitting it within their head and don't have the courage to reach out to India to get it on the show. The fact that we decided to put it on, like, I'm hoping this moment becomes the catalyst for you to actually realize. And first of all, if it's money, if it is, by the way, like, you make 100,000 and you think you can only get 85, I promise you the money isn't worth the mental struggle you're going through. Because look what's going on in the world. First, we've got into the physical, right? The health, the weight, the exercise. You're going here. I think mental health is a conversation that is going to explode over the next decade to 2. And so, there's no dollar amount worth it. And you could say, easy for you guys, you've done well, I've got college loans, that's fine. But when you're broken down mentally, you have absolutely no chance of succeeding whatsoever. Good, that's it?
Fantastic. But I agree with what you said about mental health.
Yes.
Because I feel that what's happening in colleges now with the epidemic of binge drinking, drugs, depression, anxiety. I have a whole section here about how if you scratch sleep deprivation, in 80% of cases, you find that depression and anxiety, they're very interconnected.
Sure.
It's like anecdotally, we know when we're exhausted, we see the world in a darker way. We're crankier, we're more irritable.
And I think it's self-fulfilling. I actually think I sleep so well because I'm at peace. I'm not kidding. I'm just happy. And so it's easy for me to go to sleep. I'm not thinking about bad things. When you're not thinking about bad things, it's easy to go to sleep. Like, most people are staying up. Most of you are not staying up thinking about awesome stuff.
You're worried.
Yes, you're worried. And so when you can get at mental peace, I really believe that that's why I sleep so well, because, like, it's good.
No, that is key, but it's a vicious cycle. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're sleep deprived, you are more likely to be worried and anxious, and when you're at peace, you are more likely to go to sleep.
Arianna, the guest always gets to ask the question of the day. We do a question of the day where you get to ask the entire Vayner Nation anything you want. They leave hundreds and hundreds of answers in YouTube and Facebook that you guys could look at to get some insight. You can go anywhere with this. Very entrepreneurial kind of crowd. A lot of different demos and ages, as you saw by the videos. What do you want to ask?
So I want to ask Vayner Nation, when was it that you started thinking that sleep deprivation and burnout were the way to succeed? And was there a moment when you woke up to the fact that that's not the truth?
I love it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
You keep asking questions, we'll keep answering them. What's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed the show. Please, do I get to link it up anywhere? Is it like in here? Or is it down below? Is it in print or is it in my video?
No, it'll be
It'll be down to your left.
It's here, down to my left. Like right here, there's a button for them to subscribe to my YouTube video.
The little bug.
Yeah, it's that little buggy thing. That's right, guys. Click this. That's right, use that.